morning, everyone. This is Fran Lewis, I hope. This is Dennis Palumbo, and he's going to be here to talk about his new audio book, Panic Attack.
Getting feedback.
And as a psychotherapist, you have responsibility to your patient, in this case, working on the show titled The Patient and Consultant. Now, I read the article 3,000 times. I love it. But tell us about the audio.
Well, the audio book is of my most recent Daniel Rinaldi book. It's called Panic Attack. Came out a couple years ago, and the audio book has just come out, and the reader's very good, and I'm really pleased with it. And it's the sixth book in the series, and it's an interesting story and very timely right now because the basic theme of the story is the trauma that we're all living through right now. It's a very difficult time. People are very unsettled. A colleague of mine called it the age of trauma. And it does feel like that. I mean, every other day we hear about a mass shooting or some horrible event,
Yeah.
not to mention things happening on the world stage. And so Panic Attack is a thriller about a sniper who seems to be targeting people at random on the streets of Pittsburgh, where my books all take place. And what ends up happening, and it's a very very nice twist, is that the targets are not at random, and that's where the mystery comes in. My lead character, Daniel Rinaldi,
Hmm.
this is like I said, the sixth book, is a psychologist who specializes in treating the victims of violent crime, those who survived the carjacking, the bank robbery, whatever, and are traumatized by the event. They still have the symptoms we tend to associate with PTSD. And so he gets involved in this investigation, and it has a tremendous impact on him emotionally. And I think it will on the reader as well. It's a very visceral book. But on the other hand, what I like about it is there's a lot in there about people having panic attacks, how you treat them, what are the symptoms, and why panic attacks are on the rise in the
Hmm.
country. And so I think it's a thriller that's incredibly timely right now. And, has all the thriller tropes and the twists and the turns. I mean, my books, Fran. But I also think it has a very timely message for how people are feeling right now.
Well, I listened to the news yesterday, and there was a young guy that had a panic attack and killed a whole bunch of people in Grand Central Station. And they said that it was because of his mental state or whatever. They're trying to make excuses that the cops killed him. They had no choice, I guess, however it's going to turn out. That's all I've been hearing on the news, is people killing people because they're having panic attacks. I don't think I
Well,
ever. It's sad.
you
It's
know, the
scary.
the average person, when they have a panic attack, thinks they're
Yeah.
having a heart attack. They think they're
Yeah.
having a heart attack. They're having that shallow breathing, where they feel their
Yeah.
chest is real constricted, and they're starting to get so anxious, and so they think they're having a heart attack, but it's actually a panic attack.
Well, this is my favorite. It's right there. And there's a whole bunch of people that want it. I told them to go on Amazon and get it. All of the people who I see, all the people, the authors that I work with, and all my friends want to probably have panic attack. I go, get one on Amazon. You're not getting mine.
You have your own panic attack. Don't
That
get mine.
they know. I mean, I go to different medical offices, nothing for serious, like a dentist or something. I can't walk in without a book to give to somebody. They won't see me unless I bring my books.
Ah,
And yeah, I mean, that's it's so cool. Now, let me trade glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Well, that's good. The article I reviewed about the grind is a success. I love this article because everybody at one time feels that they can't handle a situation.
yeah. You're
And
referring to the article
yeah,
about Sisyphus, the myth of
yes,
Sisyphus. Yeah. It's based on, the old Greek myth about the gods punished Sisyphus for his hubris. by making him push a big boulder up a hill. And then once it gets to the top, the boulder rolls back down again, and he has to do this again for eternity. And I use that metaphor because I took it from Camus' article, "The Myth of Sisyphus," where at the end of his essay, it's a famous essay in philosophy. He says one must imagine Sisyphus happy, and
Yeah.
what Camus is talking about is this is life. Life is rolling that boulder up a hill. It's going to roll back down, and you'll have to do it again. And so you have to find, in as I say in my article, you have to find some peace in the fact that this is life. Life is this struggle, and you have to find
Yeah.
some peace in that struggle and how to do it. I've gotten a tremendous amount of response on this article because I think we all feel like Sisyphus. We all were pushing a rock up a hill every day,
This
and
article really,
we better, sort of engage process.
this article really got to me because at times everybody gets frustrated
How did it
and
get?
upset,
Well, how did it
and
get
you
to you?
and
Yeah.
I don't know. All it affected me because a long time ago, when I retired, I retired because I realized that I was up for assistant principal and principal of my school. The principal of my school said she was going to train me because she said I was the right person. I was there over 30 years. I knew the kids, I knew the teachers, I never had a problem with anyone, not the parents. And the superintendent said, she's there too long. The truth of the matter is that she wanted a date with the assistant principal. He wouldn't give her one, and she hired someone else. So for 3 years, while this other person was there, I realized it was time to go. Not because of the
Hmm.
kids, the parents, or the teachers, but because she said when she met me, "You want my job?" I said, "I just want to be the reading coordinator," and she made me the writing staff developer. So it was 3 years of you realize when it's time to go, and it was probably she said to me, "Is this the saddest day of your life?" I said, "When you leave, I'll come back." And the school was up here when I did the writing. Then she took away my reading position and she said, "Well, she made me into a sub." I said, "Nobody does that. I'm here 30 something years. Nobody does that." So I realized sometimes it's time to go. Wasn't even rejected. It was that she was worried that I was going to go for her job, which I didn't want. I wanted
Yeah.
the assistant principal. Yeah. So I'm looking
Well, it
at
sounds
this.
like
Yeah,
that was a tough time for you. It sounds like.
yeah. It was awful. And the last day of school, she sees me, and she said, "Is this the hardest thing for you?" I said, "Let me know when you leave. I'm coming back." I said, "Because you took my school from here and you dragged it down. And for the 20 years that she was there, when I left, the school was on or above grade level in reading and writing, because of me. When she was there for 20 years, and still now it's at the bottom. And she's not there anymore. The new principal, I offered to help. I said I offered to go on YouTube with them or Zoom or whatever and teach them how to pass the writing test and the reading. She said, "No, we have people. They're at the bottom, all the way at the bottom." What can I say? Can't do everything.
Well,
So now the philosophies of the article and the philosophies of panic attack are the same but different. In the book Panic Attack, there's a real danger that you define. And yet, in the article, some of the people that are there have panic attacks or attacks because they got rejected, and especially the girl that tore up all her term papers. That
oh,
bothered me a lot. Yeah, that
well, tell me
bothered me.
what bothered you.
It bothered me that they didn't that they were successes but didn't realize it. Even the guy, the composer, the painter,
Yeah.
each one felt that they weren't good. And the one that bothered me the most is the father that told the son not to post whatever and not to do what he wanted. The surrealist painter who unsuccessfully for years couldn't find a gallery to bring us to the crux of the matter. Then we have one of the repetitive struggle and deep emotional stress, but the one with the father that told him not to post anything. It sounded like my mother. She would always
Well,
say,
that's
yeah,
one of the problems.
yeah, that bothered me.
Well, I could see why it would bother you. One of the
Yeah,
issues for a lot of creative people is their family of origin and how supportive or
yeah,
lack, how non-supportive or supportive that family member is, particularly a parent. When someone is struggling, like that painter was struggling, it sometimes reaffirms the belief that, oh, I'm not adequate. The
yeah.
problem is me. And what I always say to creative people is work the problem. Don't make yourself the problem. If you're trying to write or paint or compose music and it's a big struggle, it's a struggle because being an artist in a commercial
Yeah.
marketplace is hard. It's hard on anyone. And I think it's important that you see it as your job is to keep going. The hardest part about any creative endeavor, and I think this is true of life, especially in times like, is to keep going. Your instinct is to go, oh, what the hell? I'm never going to make it, or this isn't going to work out, or why would they hire me? Whatever you think, that meaning, that feeling you have of inadequacy usually comes from way back in your childhood and is part of the mythology that you carry forward into your life. But the reality is, every achievement you're going for is hard. And so it's not a message about you that's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard because it's hard. You're giving them you until you is what they want. That's the way I look at it. Just keep giving them you until you is what they want. And sooner or later, in my experience I've been in practice 31 years, Fran. And in my experience, if you don't give up, sooner or later, you make it. The key, like
Something I learned that the
Sisyphus,
first year I was teaching.
rolling that rock. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry,
know.
I didn't understand what you said.
In the first year I started to teach was an experience. I wasn't even 18 years old when I started teaching sixth grade.
Wow.
And I walked into the class and holy God, these were 13-year-olds. It was a stacked deck. My principal literally wanted me to fail. It took me about 3 weeks, and then somebody said to me, "You're in charge. Get them." Oh, I did. Of course, I did something that was totally against the rules, but I didn't care. They knew a lot of bad words. I knew more. So I put them on the board, the ones that are in the dictionary. I said, "Could you tell me what these words mean?" And they go, "No." I go, "And then I could use
That,
them."
that's hilarious. That's a very funny
They were,
story.
oh, it was so funny. And they looked at me and I said, "That will be the last time that you get even with Miss Swerdlove, because open school is tomorrow. Watch me get even with you." I had
Yeah,
3 sets of report cards, and the parents, here I was, 17 years old. They sided with me. I couldn't believe it. And after that, I never had a problem in all the years I'm there, ever, until that last year with that principal. I never had a problem with the kids, the parents, because I realized you're in charge. So this book, I love Daniel Rinaldi. You got to write another one. You're not done with him yet.
well,
Uh,
six. I've written 6 books in the series, and
yeah,
people always say to me, "When are you going to write the next one?"
yeah.
And I
When's the
always say,
next one come?
"Pardon me?
So why did he get asked to investigate the sniper, and how did you create the role
How
in
did I
Panic
come up with?"
Attack?
Well,
In Panic,
the story in Panic Attack came to me
yeah,
because I've been reading so much about mass shootings in the country, and particularly that guy in Las Vegas who was shooting people from his hotel room. And I thought, one of the things that makes a sniper or a mass shooter so terrifying is it comes out of nowhere. You're walking down the street on your way to work or on your way to
hmm
lunch, and you have no idea that the next moment could be your last. And what I wanted to do in Panic Attack in the book will show an entire city gripped in panic. The whole town panicked because they don't know what's going to happen next. And I think, to be honest, it reflects how we all feel now. We get up in the
Yeah,
morning, you turn on CNN, and God knows what you're going to see. You don't know what's going to happen next and what horrible thing you're going to read about, or some
yeah,
catastrophe is becoming, or some, war is going on that you don't understand. And people feel more and more powerless in the face of that. That's why I think it is an age of trauma, that people are starting to have a lot of PTSD symptoms, where they're anxious all the time, they're worried all the time, they expect the worst all the time, they're very vigilant when they go out the door. What the heck's coming? Is a rock going to fall on my head? And so I think that what I tried to do in the novel, even though it's just a regular thriller, but I tried, the theme of it is how anxiety producing such criminal acts are, such acts of violence that seem to come out of nowhere, and how we're all night now in a kind of state of wariness. Like I said, in the old days, I used to wake up in the morning and I never worried that if I turned the TV on, some catastrophe was going to be on the news.
hmm,
Well, now we think that. Now you turn on CNN in the morning with your cup of coffee, and you assume there's going to be some catastrophe that you're going to have to look at. And I think that's what's going on with people now,
yeah,
which is why there is a rise in anxiety and depression.
yeah. I know. My friend, every morning she texts me, "Oh, my television's broken. I got a new one yesterday. How am I going to get it to work?" I said, "You call the person that delivered it. You call the company, and they explain to you. I don't know how to do it. I'm stupid." All her life, she's been told that she's not smart. So she actually believes it. I said, "Look, I can't change your mindset. I could only tell you how to do it." I did tell her how to do it. She said, "I have to get somebody to help me." I said, "It's not that difficult to take the model of the TV and put it in your remote control, press on." I can't do that. I said, "Then call your son. He'll tell you how to do it." There are a lot of people like that that I mean, it's really sad. Expectations, people expect things. My mother told me that if it wasn't perfect, don't hand it in. And there were times I got 99 on a test or 98 on a composition, and she made me write it over. She said, "It's not 100." I said, "So what? It's still an A. I'm a perfect A student." Yeah, it was never, my sister, my brother, never, just me. So in the article, the book expectations play a role. In the grind, each person has their own definition of success and different reactions. So how do you take a person that really wants to become an actor, wants to become a writer? How do you restore their confidence? I mean, I look in the mirror every day and I go, "I'm smart, I could do that. Don't worry about it. I got this." You have to have that feel. How do you restore the confidence of the people that you wrote about in this article?
Well, the thing about confidence is,
Yeah,
people, I think, misunderstand it because they think confidence means, oh, you have no fear,
yeah,
you have no anxiety, you're just like a bullet, you're just going. My experience with my most successful patients
uh-huh,
is they're still struggling. They still coexist with anxiety, worry, fear, self doubt. What makes a person succeed is not confidence necessarily, but
hmm,
the belief that even with all of those feelings don't predict the future. If an actor has stage fright, let's say they're in their dressing room in the afternoon and they have stage fright because they have to go give a performance that night. Well, they're so anxious they might even throw up. They're so anxious. They have such stage fright, and then they go out on the stage and they give a great performance. So
hmm,
obviously, their stage fright did not predict a bad performance. They think it does. And so the key to confidence, whatever confidence means, I've never been confident in my life. I just coexist with whatever neurotic fear or anxiety that I have. I assume it's just part of who I am. I'm a big believer that you feel the fear and you do it anyway. And my experience is the more you do something, no matter how scared you are, the more it builds confidence.
It
To
does.
me, confidence, it does not mean no fear or no worry. It means you're able to do the thing while you're afraid and while you're worried. The other thing I've noticed is once you get into doing something, your fear about it goes away. In other words, if you're anxious about pitching an idea to an editor, 5 minutes into the pitch, you forget you're nervous. Now you're just trying to tell them a story. My experience is action precedes motivation. You're much better off to just do the thing, even if you're anxious. And after a few minutes, your skill set takes over. Your, your talent takes over. Your ability to do the thing takes over. And all of a sudden, you're doing fine. It's sort of like going to the dentist. Nobody wants to go
No,
there.
no,
And
don't
then
remind
5 minutes
me.
into the chair,
That's tomorrow.
oh, well, what the hell, here I am. So I think you want your listeners and your viewers not to think,
Yeah.
well, I can't go forward unless I have confidence. I think the exact opposite. I think you go forward and confidence comes to you as a result of your struggle with your anxiety and fear.
I agree because I realized you could teach anything, just get up there and do it. And for 19 years, I taught the kids in the school that were all discipline problems and all below level. And some of the teachers would say to me, "How do you do that?" I say, "Because they're going to be above level when I get done with them. I have confidence in me and they're not going to fail." And they didn't. It drove them crazy. The kids were like fifth graders, fourth graders, and the fourth graders were on second grade level reading, and the fifth graders were on third grade level. And I didn't tell them. They had no idea when they came to reading group what I was. They knew what I was doing. I said you could do it. By the end of the year, they were on above grade level. They said, "How do you do it?" I said, "I didn't do anything. You did. I told you you could do it." It's a matter of the teachers of the class would tell them that they were behind. Then after a while, the reading groups weren't mandated. The teachers sent the kids that they wanted to send to me because they were discipline problems. So they figured that 3 times a week they wouldn't have to deal with them. Didn't have a problem. I loved every minute of it. But then I did created a reading program that nobody in their right mind would do. Monday was one thing. Tuesday was comprehension, and Wednesday was whatever you want to read. Tell me. So I learned a lot about wrestlers and uh, singers and art and anything they wanted to learn. And I looked it up. Of course, it cost me paper, but you know what? They never complained about calming down. And there was one teacher that suspended a group from reading. They came out of the room. They said, "You can't do that because we can't miss the lesson." I was like, "That's when you know you're doing a good job."
Yep, when they're
It's
anxious
it's
to,
great. So
yeah.
this one bothered me the most. She reminded me of my mother. The novelist, the novelist was a father's expectations, and he referenced a Tony Soprano. Why did he think he was good enough to write the book? I mean, obviously he must be, but why would he tell his son you're not good enough? And
Well,
that's
because
painful.
because a lot of parents. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in this case, I don't want to talk too much about
Yeah.
this patient, but the reality is, for many artists, first of all, nobody. Robert Frost has a great saying. He said, "The one things that all nations of the earth share is a fear that a member of your family is going to want to be an artist." No parent wants to hear that their kid wants to be an artist. My family was not too thrilled when I told them I wanted to be a writer. So the reality is, I think parents are either worried that the kid's not going to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
or in this case, the father was just by nature a belittling person, a person who his own self esteem was so fragile that he needed to put down his children. He needed to limit their expectations. or to let them know how constantly disappointed he was. There's the thing that I find the most difficult for my
Mm.
creative patients is a parent who lets them know how disappointed they are. Because then you go out into the creative marketplace
Hmm.
where you're constantly risking rejection anyway. It's very brave to be a creative person. It's very brave to be an artist because the marketplace is like a big rejecting parent whose approval you need to get.
Yeah.
And that's why so many artists struggle so much emotionally because whether it's their agent or an editor or a
Yeah.
producer or whatever, that's a parent figure they feel they have to gain the approval of. So you write a story, you send it to a magazine. If the editor accepts it, you feel loved. If the editor rejects it, you feel there's something wrong with me. And so you put the editor, the producer, your agent, all these people
Yeah.
represent the marketplace. You put them in parental roles. And then whatever your dynamic as a child was in your family of origin, you replicate those. When I was a screenwriter, I always thought my agent was my parent. Even though they were supposed to work for me, I felt like I worked for them.
Yeah.
I would write something, and if my agent went, I don't know if we can sell this, I felt like I disappointed a parent.
You know something? I agree. My last book, Inverted Reality, I think was my best one. So the people that promoted it and put it on Amazon, I got sideswiped. It was just supposed to be to edit the book. So they went and they published it and edited and publication and it cost me $1,700 for something that I could have had done for 500 if somebody else had taken it. All I wanted them to do was edit the spelling or whatever. Then when it came to writing, posting it, oh, it's okay. It was one of the best books I've ever written. But they did nothing to help me, so I do it myself. An inverted reality is 26 stories of people that did the wrong thing. And if they don't repent, the mirror takes care of you. And you are a face in the mirror forever. And people that have read it said it's probably one of the best. So I've decided at this point I'm going to stick to reviewing books because I'm good at that. Really good at that. And I'm going to stick at doing these shows because this is my fun. I love this. And this came out of nowhere because Blog Talk went down in January of 2025. And then all of a sudden I found Restream. And God, if you hear me, guys, I know you're listening. They're the best thing that ever happened to me because I don't have to touch anything with my face. And the clicker is right here. So I don't have to do anything. And I don't have to put the phone on my face. They have to see my face, but there's nothing I can do. It's the best thing that ever happens to me. So, question over here. How would you define the people that you work with? Did they ever find happiness? Especially the girl that ripped up her term papers. My mother would have done that too and told me it's not good. Or the guy that it's frustrating. Creative patience, frustrated, stubbornly unfulfilled. As Robert Louis Stevenson said, I have known happiness if I have done good work. See, in your heart, you have to believe that you could do it.
Well, what I liked
Yeah,
about this, you were quoting the
yeah,
Robert Louis Stevenson quote, where he said, I have known happiness for I've
yeah,
done good work. I'm a big fan of that quote because it doesn't
yeah,
say, I've known happiness because I was a big success, or I have known happiness because a million people read my book.
yeah,
The key is the work itself.
yeah,
My experience with my patients is that the ones who are the most content are the ones who really engage with their work, that have a really good work ethic and a work process. And I call it NATO, no attachment to outcome. NATO, no attachment to outcome. That rather than worry, gee, am I going to sell this book? Is anyone going to buy this screenplay? Is anyone going to like this piece of music? Is anyone going to like this painting? I often say instead, what do you feel about it? Are you feeling like you're doing your best work? Do you feel
Mm-hmm.
you're growing every day as an artist? Do you feel more and more connected emotionally to the work you're doing? That's my definition of success. If it's your karma, yeah, you might sell it. If it's your karma, you might become very successful,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very nice. But I have a lot of really successful patients in my practice, and in 2 minutes, their fame and money goes away in their head. They're worried about the next thing they're writing,
Mm-hmm.
the next thing
Yeah.
they're directing, the next thing they're acting in. It's like when I was a mountain climber. I'll give you a great example. I climbed the Grand Teton one time. I was doing a technical climb with a climbing
Mm-hmm.
buddy, and we went to the very summit of the Grand Teton. It was a very difficult technical climb, mountain climbing, with Tetons and the whole thing. Once we got to the summit, it was great. Such
Mm-hmm.
a sense of elation and gratification. After a few minutes, we looked at each other and said, "Well, you about ready to go down?" Because I learned that once you get a goal, after a few minutes, now you want the next goal. The joy is in the process of getting there. Once you get the goal, while you're very gratified, it only lasts a little bit. The challenge and the excitement is getting there. There was a conference of social psychiatrists and social
Uh-huh.
scientists years ago that tried to define what happiness was.
That's hard.
And what they came up with is progress toward a goal. They didn't say happiness was getting the goal, they said happiness was progress toward a goal. And I know that feeling. When I'm in the midst of writing an article that I think is going well, like what
Yeah.
you're referring, or a novel that I think is going well, I'm very happy. Once the book comes out or the article comes out, it's like, okay, now I got to promote it, and I hope people like it. And gee, do people think it's as good as the last one I did? All that stuff comes in my head. But when I'm working and I'm really, really deep into it, I don't have any of those concerns. The Hindus say the key to contentment is absorption. If you're absorbed in your work, you're content. And so I always say to people, try to look at doing good work as the goal itself. And I find people are much more content and satisfied and happy if they can focus on the work and not on the outcome of the work. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense to me. You know, when Blog Talk went down, I said, now, how am I going to interview people? And I was really nervous because the first time I did Restream, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I said, okay, I got on the station. I didn't know who the author was. I had never met her before. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm in charge. I asked the questions. It was the most awakening experience ever. I think the nicest compliments I get was that after I post my stream, it goes on YouTube. But if you post this stream on LinkedIn, 5 minutes later, I get 200 views and comments. And I don't get I get positive comments. Sometimes I get negative, and I go, everybody can't like everything. But I think the best thing that ever happens is that the people at Rest Team think I'm wonderful. Not only that, at the end of this, they give me their assessment of the sound and the everything like that. Because they listen, they do listen to everything I do, which is perfectly okay. And sometimes they don't comment negative ever about anything that I do. 100% this, whatever. The hardest thing, like I said, is when I do the stream, I pray to God that the author is fine with it, that it goes fine, that it tapes as I'm watching. It's taping right now. Last week I did one and it didn't come through on YouTube. I go, oh my God. And I have to look to see that it's on YouTube right now. Don't fail me now.
Well, I'm such a tech idiot. I always think I'm going to not do it correctly or push the wrong button or not know how to make my audio work. Uh, I'm terrible on Zoom and all FaceTime, all these things. I'm just, I'm too old. I find this stuff very difficult.
Oh, it's here. It better be here. It better be here. This is like my most fun. I love doing it. So before I forget, there's some more people that are going to be part of this fun. On the 21st, the author of Killing Breath. On the 29th, this is hilarious. The guy wrote a novel about the character buys a lottery ticket, but the lottery ticket he didn't put his name on it, and he can't prove that it's his, but he gave him the 50 cents to buy it. The lottery ticket came in for $40 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so when he spoke to his friend, he said, "I don't know what you're talking about, and you're fired, and you never bought it." The whole story worms around. The guy has an accident trying to go after him. At the end, watch what he does to get the lottery ticket, and watch what happens to the guy that tried to stick it to him. It's hysterical, and yet you wonder, what are you going to do with the $40 million? At the end, he helps a young boy get his goal that would normally never go. It's a sad book, but yet it's funny. It's happy. On the 5th, if you send Alan Jacobson is sending his new one for me. On the 18th, Tiffany Warren, Harlem Wedding, and on the 21st, Joe Clifford, Skeleton Theory. They're all on Facebook, and Joe Clifford just texted me and said, "I'm sending you another one." And Russell Camilleri sending. I can't believe it. I'm getting this is probably the nicest compliment when an author emails me and says, "Will you review my book?" I
Yes,
go,
it's a great compliment. Well,
uh,
I always like the notes you send me when
"Yeah,
you've read something of mine because I realize you've given it a lot of thought. And I
yeah,
always
you have to."
appreciate that.
But my favorite thing is when you send the articles because it's not a book; it's about something that I learn about. So
Well,
and
that's the
this one,
thing. I try to make the
yeah,
articles. Yeah, you're referring to this new column that I do for Psychiatric Times, and I talk about the things that
yeah,
creative people worry about. I talk about writer's block and procrastination.
that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, and I think every artistic person struggles with
Yeah,
blocks and anxiety and procrastination, particularly now. I mean, again, the thing that's so fascinating about nowadays is there's so many, disturbing, upsetting, discouraging things happening in the world that a lot of the artists in my practice go, well, does it matter what I'm doing at all? Why does it matter that I'm writing a novel when the world's falling apart? Well, because the world needs that novel. We've never needed storytellers more than
yeah,
at a time when the world feels like it's sideways, when it's going out of control, when we don't like what we're seeing on the news or we don't like how it feels to be, in the culture right now. Storytelling reminds us of our common humanity. It's
yeah,
very important that at times of great stress in the world, that writers, actors, directors, painters, composers, everyone really deeply leans into their work because
uh,
we need it. We really need that work. We need storytelling more now than ever.
all I know is that when I feel stressed out, I take a book and I
Yeah.
read it. And all of the books I'm reading now about Iran,
Well,
all of
yeah.
them about Iran, and it's the past and the present. They're all about Iran. I know more about Iran and the war than anybody else does. My nephew spent time there too. I was so nervous until he came home, but that seems to be the main thing. And of course, on the news, Vance never got the deal with them. Oh well, what do you expect? But it's sad. Everybody's so focused on the negative that they haven't realized that there's a lot of happy things going on out there. It's
Well,
a
that's the
beautiful
other
world
thing is,
out there.
yeah. Well, that's the hard thing is that art,
Yeah,
if nothing else, good art makes people happy. If you read a story where there's a character who's similar to you, relating to that character makes you feel less alone. And you feel like, well, my struggles are like their struggles. Other
Yeah,
people feel like me. And that relatability, the thing that makes us feel our common humanity with others, is one of the great gifts of storytelling. And that's why it's important we do it. Even if all you're doing is writing some silly sitcom, if it makes a person happy and releases them
that's
from
right.
their worries for 20 minutes, you've done a nice service.
It's my sister. I miss my sister on Passover,
Hmm.
and her death is under suspicion. It's scary, and I knew she wasn't. I knew she was still alive, but her husband pulled her life support right in front of me, and there was very little. I did a lot. I can't say on the air what I did, but I did a lot to try to prevent it. So I wrote a poem on my Just Reviews, my new website. It's called Just Reviews on WordPress with Fran Lewis, and it's beautiful. Um, Gina from Partners in Crime created it. It's absolutely perfect. It's beautiful, and I posted a poem about my sister because I miss her, and people are reading it. And the greatest compliment is when I get somebody that reads it and says it's good. If they don't like it, I don't really care. I'm not doing it for you. When I post a review, or a stream, or I'm going to post this on my website, or I post a book or a book review, I'm only the person I have to please is the author and the publicist, and I have to be proud of what I wrote. But I've never written a negative review ever. I won't, because if I don't think the book is at least three and a four stars, I won't review it. I'll just write a summary because there's enough negativity in the world.
Well, that's
So
why I like the fact you did that poem about your late sister.
yeah, my sister, yeah,
Perfect example of what I was talking about, where you
yeah,
take your feelings and transform them into an artistic expression
yeah.
that other people can relate to. And it bonds us as people together.
It does. And my niece and my nephew, it's amazing. I haven't heard from my brother in a long time. That's a whole other nightmare. But my niece actually sent me a happy Easter, happy Passover. I said, and I was just thrilled that they recognized that I was there. And there were my four young nieces. One that works in a psych ward. She's a unit case manager in a psych ward. She loves every minute of it, and she loves the kids. And then there are the other three are in property management and consumer selling. And I'm so proud of them. What's really great is that they ask me what to do if they're not sure. And they said they because they cheat because they don't have my sister. And I said, my niece and nephew said, great, you take care of it. If there's a problem, anything, they don't know what to do. They ask me to do it. I said, but it's up to you if you're going to listen. I can't tell you to do what I tell you to do. I could just tell you what I think, and they usually listen because they think I know what I'm doing. Everybody's good, but so what's next for you? And where can everybody find out more about you and your work? And when am I getting the next article?
When are you getting the next article? Well, I just wrote it and sent it in.
Oh,
And
good.
but there's the turnaround sometimes at Psychiatric Times. It's the turnaround sometimes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, but it'll
Uh,
be sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'll send you a
oh,
note.
goody.
Yeah, people can find out about me. Just Google me, Dennis Palumbo, because all my articles and interviews and stuff are there. And you can also learn about my Daniel Rinaldi books. They're all available on Amazon. And the thing that's nice about the new one, Panic Attack, as I said, is out now as an audiobook.
Yeah,
But all six of the books are available as audiobooks, hardcover, trade paperback, ebook for Kindle, or the only platform that it doesn't have is where I come to your house and read it aloud. But I'll do that if the price is right. But that's the only
that's
format.
hard.
Other than that, you can if you like to listen to books. I've been very lucky. I have very good narrators on all my novels, and so You can get audiobook versions of all six of the Daniel Rinaldi thrillers. They're award-winning mysteries. I recommend them highly if you like thrillers that are very intense, very suspenseful, and have a lot of twists and turns.
Let me just end the stream. I'm doing that.